My name is Lori Buckley, and I am the Arts Administrator for Ogden City. If I were to describe the Grant Avenue murals, I would have to say it's a large, impactful project. It encompasses 2 city blocks. The murals are 50 feet long by about 40 feet tall, so there's 5 wall panels, and we did a national artist call. We got about 154 submissions from local and national artists. Had to narrow that down to 1, which is very difficult, but Don Rymix is the artist that we selected, and he was one of the outstanding submissions. His work is so vibrant and colorful. There's so much movement and lines, and I think the fact that he spoke Spanish, and 30% of our community here speaks Spanish, I think it was just like the perfect fit for that project. The first mural depicts a male Indian with a feather headdress. We kind of worked with the local tribes and made sure it was like a generalized example of multiple tribes, so we weren't leaving any of them out. And so just for a nod for the people that were here before Ogden. And then, it moves on through like local immigrants that like came with the railroad and industry workers. Of course, we have to talk about the railroad, so there's the panel that covers Golden Spike and where the railroads meet. And, Ogden's a railroad town. We're here because of that railroad. And then, we move into like more modern timelines. We've got a woman with a horse, and it kind of covers our Western culture, but then Ogden has one of the biggest rodeos in the western half of the United States that comes here every July. So it's a nod to that. And then we couldn't leave out Joe McQueen. He was so impactful to the development and, kind of working with segregation. He was really impactful in helping us, because Ogden's always been super diverse because of the railroad and because of kind of how we grew. And so he worked really hard and really put Ogden on the map in the music world. So he was a perfect end cap for that. The installation process for those murals was surprising and difficult. So he came in June of 2021, brought his wife Cassia and their 2 children, beautiful little family. And he said, I'm gonna paint these. And you remember, these are 50 feet long by 40 feet tall, and there's 5 of them in 4 weeks. And I was like, is he joking? Like this? I'm thinking 3 or 4 months maybe of time, because if you see his pieces, they're so detailed. There's so many little lines and patterns and shapes. And he worked for a week on his own, and then he had a fellow muralist that they worked together on larger projects fly in. His name is Pedro Torres. He goes by Spear. And he came in and they started working at night. So they got lights and they worked all night long. And in 4 weeks, those huge murals, just like I would come the next day and it would be like huge sections done, and it was like magic. So I incorporate the community into the public art process pretty much from the beginning all the way to the end. As I'm working through a new project, it is presented in public meetings. The community has the option to stand up and ask questions or, maybe even try to veto it. Even through the approval process, it's in front of the community. Every single art opportunity I have, any art call, a request for qualification or proposal is open to the public. And then I do require my selected artists to work through their design process with the community. They're required to do community engagement sessions, workshops. We like to have like an art installation day where you're working with the artists, especially on murals, where they can come paint. We require them to offer artist talks or workshops, so I try to keep the community involved with us the whole way through.
Hello, I am Casey Lindley. I am the Program and Communications Manager at Ogden Contemporary Arts. Solar Healer Protector is a mural that was created by our Ogden Contemporary Arts 2023 Artist in Residence, Eric J. Garcia. He's an artist based in New Mexico, and he came out for a few months, created this large-scale mural on the Monarch building. It's about 100 feet wide and 60 feet tall, and it basically depicts Utah landscape. It depicts the iconic Morton Salt girl, and she's been transformed into a young Shoshone girl, pouring seeds into the water beneath her. On one side of the mural, you'll see the Wasatch Mountains transforming into teepees that are traditional housing for the Shoshone Nation. And then on the other side, you'll see the Wasatch Mountains kind of transforming into these more industrial buildings. So the installation process with Solar Protector Healer is we first received a proposal from our artist in residence, Eric J. Garcia. He wanted to do a large-scale community-based mural that addressed some of our environmental and social issues, but also some of Ogden's history. Eric had a few open studio nights where we invited community members to come in and meet Eric. And he put up a few pieces of paper on his studio walls with some prompts, just asking a few questions and asking community members to tell him about Ogden, because he had never been to Ogden before, so he felt like that would be a really good way to learn about it. He also reached out to members of the Northwestern Band of the Shoshone Nation and asked them to tell him a little bit about this place and their history here. So they gave him a lot of really incredible feedback. He came up with the mural design, and then he did need some assistance because it's a very large-scale mural. So we reached out to our partner organization, Youth Impact of Ogden, and we invited the teens to come out and learn from Eric and help him paint the mural. And then he taught the teens the grid method, like a more traditional approach to mural making, where you have a large-scale drawing and you can scale it up through a grid. And then we also had a community mural day where we invited all the community members to come out and help paint the mural. So it was definitely a huge project where most everybody was able to be involved and help create this piece. So Solar Healer Protector reflects Ogden in various ways. It reflects the history of the building that it is painted on, which is the Monarch. It used to be the parking garage for the Bigelow Hotel. He selected a lot of colors that are really reflective of Ogden and Utah, northern Utah. And a lot of the conversations he was picking up on, a lot of people expressed concerns about the Great Salt Lake drying up and also water being diverted from the Bear River. He's also referencing the history of Air Force Base. So you'll see a lot of jets in the mural. He added a lot of different layers from like contemporary issues to our history and all of that. So I think one of the wonderful things about mural art is that it's a very community-based art practice. So you're taking artwork out of the white cube and putting it out into the public where everyone can see it and enjoy it.
The OGX bus line is actually a bus rapid transit system that is a high-speed, quick running bus that runs from West Ogden up through Ogden, through Weber State Campus, and ends at McCady Hospital. And this project is a collaboration actually between a lot of different entities. It was a very large and expensive project. It's a partnership between Ogden City, the Utah Transit Authority, which I'll call UTA, Weber State University, McCady Hospital, and Weber County Ramp. There are 13 stations. There are 3 of them that I'd like to talk about today. It's on Jefferson Avenue, and the artist is a local photographer named Benjamin Zach, and his art piece is called Profiles of Jefferson. And what's interesting about that piece is Jefferson Avenue is one of the longest residential streets in Ogden City. And what he did is he just meandered up and down the road, and he ended up taking photographs of people in their everyday lives that live on Jefferson. So they're actually in the art piece, and then he colored the photographs, and it's a beautiful collection of the people of Jefferson Avenue. My second most favorite is it's on the intersection right at the top of 25th Street and Harrison. The artist's name is Monica Bravo. She used the Art Deco theme of Ogden High School. And then hidden in there is actually our mountain skyline and our cityscape skyline. So it's a beautiful piece, very colorful, And abstract art's one of those ones you can look at for a long time, looking for things. And so I think it's a very well done piece. And the third one that I really love is actually up here on campus. And the artist is Hillary Hagstrom Wallace. And it's a depiction of Weber State students. They are going about, like there's a basketball player, a student walking to class. Interspersed throughout the piece, it's acorns and oak leaves. And so you kind of wonder why they're there. And if you read her artist statement, she has a beautiful analogy that relates Weber State as a little acorn. And it goes all the way back to when Weber State was just an academy. And it has grown into this mighty oak tree that has deep roots into the Ogden community, and those large, expansive branches do cover like the diversity of students that attend to school here. And then they also have roots in the community because once they're done at school here, they go out, impact Ogden. They're working and living and, interacting. So I think it's really a well done and well thought out piece. So it's very different than a normal public art installation where the artist comes and they're painting or they fabricated work in their studio and they bring it and install it in Ogden. This one, the artists were just required to create their design and then provide high resolution digital files. And UTA then contracted with a company called 3Form. They figured out a way, to print that artwork, and it had to be in certain level of transparency to meet the safety factors so that you could see through the glass enough. And then sandwiched it between the two glass screens so it's protected from the weather, and it has like UV protectant in there because we didn't want them to fade. Ultimately, once 3Form fabricated the pieces, then UTA contractors installed them. So it was a little bit different than a normal public art installation process. The way we tied it into Ogden or made it reflect Ogden is we assigned each artist a neighborhood, and the artists all work with your special collections department, Sarah Langston, up here.
When we were working with the artists, the one thing we talked to them about was wherever their designated station was, to try and reflect what that neighborhood looked like or looks like now. So you have some that show like the train station and things like that, but as you get further into the more residential areas like Monroe, there are photographs of people who live in that area today that are shown there. And so it really reflects the diversity that is Ogden. Ogden's always been a very diverse town and just continues to be. It pulls in people from all walks of life. It's so interesting to look at those photographs of people and see, they're not all the same. That there are people from all over that have called Ogden home and are continuing to call Ogden home.
I think the coolest piece of the OGX transit station is that it is such an amazing example of what a collaboration of community organizations can pull off. Because of the partnership, everyone pooled resources and worked together and helped look for artists. And the piece from your special collection, Sarah Langston, adding all those images that the artists need, it was a perfect example of what a community can pull off together. And it just is an amazing project that really added so much vibrancy and color and energy to our streets. So I think ultimately it's a fantastic example of what the community can do together.
I love that there are so many local artists that are getting to show their art in a very public way. That I just see things pop up and sometimes they think they're sanctioned, sometimes they're not. But I think it adds to the history of Ogden. It tells the stories. I love that it tells not only the popular stories that we know, but sometimes it picks out people that may not be so well known in Ogden's history and sort of be able to tell their story as well.
I think that community art is important because it's a really good way to connect with your community members, to have important conversations about local issues. It's free and accessible for the community to experience. And community art projects, they can be seen by larger audiences, and it gives the community the opportunity to participate in larger conversations.
Community art is so important for a lot of factors. I think ultimately it gives you pride in your community. It gives you feel connected and welcome there because it's telling the story of the people there. It's telling, it's depicting different cultures and different histories. And, whether it be murals or static sculpture art or anything, I think that there's like magic there. We've seen it throughout history, all the way back to the people living in caves. They were putting art in their walls, and then we can learn a lot about art. Even if that's all we have from them, is we're learning about their society and their people from their artwork. And so community art is like one of the most important pieces of a healthy, strong, and vibrant community. And, I think we should definitely have more of it.
A picture tells 1,000 words, and I truly believe that you can gain so much from just visually looking at something.